Chapter 3. My practice with Frank changed me totally. I was more open on everything. I was enjoying much more on everything, laughing, being sure of myself, and improving a lot my practice in gymnastic, Olympic gymnastic. So much that I started to be in contact with a school of Manchester, England, who wanted to invite me to be part of the team. I found that very, very attractive. I felt like having a new adventure, a new evolution in my existence. At the same time, I had to leave so many things. First of all, there was Isabel. It was not a great love with Isabel, and my sexual relations with her were quite empty and not very motivating. The more I did some stuff with her, and the less I liked that. But I loved the family of Isabel. She had a sister, Noël, and a brother, Michel, and her parents, Carlo, and Jackie. Jackie was the mom, Carlo was the Italian father, and they were super cool. We had a lot of parties in the family, and they were all totally fantastic. It was really cool. I loved a lot to be with them, to laugh, They were crazy people. For instance, there were some lighters with a sort of iron statue of any style. And to be accepted in the family, to be really part of the family, you had to bring back one of these lighters. But you had to steal it. And when they told me that, I said, but I can buy one, it's not a problem. It was 20, 30 euros, a bit expensive, but not a fortune. No. If you want to be part of the family, you must do something exceptional. You have to steal one. You have to face this fear and to dare doing that. And for months, I was hesitating. The first time, for the practice, I decided to steal a little something very small, just to try in a shop. I was with a father. And I decided, come on, I'm not going to be terrified just because of this. At that time, I started to practice also with Frank, and I felt more courageous. I'm not going to refuse like this little initiation. And I stole a little something for the salt or for the pepper, I've forgotten. And the top of the thing, I wanted to put that, it was big like an egg, I wanted to put that into my coat, into the pocket. And at the top there was like a little decoration, and the decoration was caught in my zip. And I crossed the complete shop quite quickly with the thing out of my pocket, because I tried to enter and I couldn't enter it, and I couldn't. I was so terrified. Finally, I learned to be in peace. I learned to enjoy this crazy family, and one day I did it. And I came back with a cool statue, quite big, with a lighter on it. And they said, oh yes, Stef is now part of our family. You are fantastic. It's super cool. And it was the occasion for a new party. They had often different friends who came as well, a bit crazy. And it was really fantastic. They were really cool people. They had a big farm where I used to go to see my girlfriend and to spend some weekends with them. And I was really part of the family, like a kid of the family. I was still quite young, and it was super cool. And to leave these people, Isabel, not so much, it was not a big problem, but Isabel was my ticket to have the right to be part of the family. I was much more in love with the family than with Isabel. And I had also my practice with Frank. We were meeting every week, and the practice was fantastic. With the time, I learned really some cool movements of Tai Chi, some combinations, like the 108 steps. And the practice was relaxing me so much, and at the same time exciting me so much, developing more stability, serenity, desires, rights to exist, to shine, to dream about things. And with this intensity of being naked, he's naked as well. And with the practice, with the experience, I was as much into the desires and excitement than in the very peaceful mind of the effect of the Tai Chi Chuan on me. Moving, having a perfect body with a good position on my feet, on my legs, my pelvis, my spine, which helped me to improve also the gymnastic. Because in gymnastic, it is very important to stretch, to jump, but we never insist so much on the correct position of the articulations. Correcting all of this helped me as well to improve a lot my gymnastic and my abilities. And there was this fire, this volcano growing up in me all the time that made me more enthusiastic, excited, powerful, with an endless quantity of energy, of desire, of excitement. Before leaving France, where I was, I started to practice judo. I wanted to have something else. As I was learning with Frank, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, I wanted to discover more, and I started to practice on a low level judo. And in judo, I loved to be naked in the kimono. No underwear, just the kimono. And you know, the kimono of judo is a bit rough. And that on my body was extremely exciting. So going to the lesson of judo was another wave of energy, of desires. With Frank, in Tai Chi and Qigong and yoga, we were often practicing with a fantastic machine. Every day of practice, every week, it was sucking my nipples. And at the same time, Frank was asking for me not to refuse the pen, but to use this pen when it was pulling my nipples very much out, to make them very big, to feed them with my consciousness, with my chi, of this complete energy of intensity in the nipples. He said that the nipples are like two doors of the body. He explained to me, you see, Stef, you have to understand that a person has 12 doors between the inside and the outside. The two eyes, the two ears, the two nostrils, the mouth, the two nipples, the navel, the sex, and the anus. All of this, there were 12 doors, with, of course, the two eyes. So the doors were the two eyes, the two ears, the two nostrils, the mouth, the two nipples, the navel, the sex, and the anus. And he said, by working, you learn to hear correctly, to listen correctly, to smell correctly, to have a good taste. The navel is what makes you in contact with the life and with your mom and with your family. And the two parts down, they are obviously always active. But the two nipples are too often left behind without life. And it is important to give them the life that they deserve as well. And when the 12 doors are open, then you are totally radiant and alive. So every session with Frank, he was insisting more on my nipples, with the machine pulling more and more. And at one point, it was quite painful, but super exciting at the same time. And I was feeding the pain with a chi to make my nipples alive, open, present. As I said already before, my nipples that were very small and like the nipples of a teenager became much bigger. Not so big, of course, I am a man, but much bigger and hypersensitive. Sometimes being outside, when I had a t-shirt moving on my nipples, I found that very often very exciting. And the kimono, with the gymnastic, fighting with the other men, it was the rough kimono pushing on my nipples. Wow, it was so fantastic. And it's not like just to enjoy this feeling. This feeling pushed me to be extremely talented in judo. I didn't stay a long time and I reached only a green belt, which is not a very, very high level, but I did that only in some months. And the teacher told me that he had rarely had a student that was so talented. Because I love to move, I love to sweat, I love to be with the others, I love to fight with the others, to have them close to me. And to have this feeling of this, my body naked in the kimono that is like a little bit aggressive, my skin, and making me even more alive. And with the success in gymnastic and the perfect harmony that I had been developing with Frank, it made me like, I felt like a star shining all the time. And I had the feeling that problems were melting in front of me. And it is in this state of absolute success and radiance that I was invited to go to Manchester. What was to be done? One day, I spoke to Frank about this. I told him that I was invited there, but that I loved totally my sessions with him. And he told me, listen to me, Stef. Myself, in a little while, I'm going to move to Amsterdam. And I said, what? But why would you do that? And he said, you know, in France, people don't really appreciate what I do. But in Amsterdam, you have a lot of people who are very motivated to work with me. So in a little while, I will be moving as well away to Amsterdam. You will go your way to Manchester. I will go my way to Amsterdam. It means that the synchronicity is there for both of us to do something new. I love to practice with you. I love your body, Stef. I love your commitment. I love your beautiful nipples and your fantastic ass. And I love to wash you at the end and to be washed by you. It is such a pleasure. We have such an harmony, such a peaceful energy that it will be difficult to leave you. But both of us, Stef, we have to take this as a new step of evolution. All the pleasure that I developed with you will be harvested to do something better in Amsterdam. All the pleasure and the awareness that you have been developing with me will be harvesting that will take to Manchester. And both of us, we're not stopping something. We're taking what we developed to make it bigger, more intense. He looked at me deeply and he said, you know, Stef, with such a beauty that your body is, with such an intensity in your existence, believe me, in England, you will know even much better. You will develop more pleasure, more power to exist, to shine, and to be proud of you. And then, as always, we went into a practice where he pushed again my nipples, sucking the nipples with the machine so intensely that it was really painful. but even more exciting, more working in the spirit of Qigong to feed my nipples and to feel strong, excited, powerful. Then we went to a session of jacuzzi, washing each other softly. And when Frank was cleaning my nipples, I had a terrible erection. It was fantastically pleasant, and I was in ecstasy, really in ecstasy, forgetting the situation I was. I was just, and I nearly forgot in which situation I was. I was only with this intensity of the nipples, with all my body, my stomach contracting, my sex completely present, my ass contracted to the maximum, forgetting everything completely. And then Frank told me, now, before you go away, I will give you a higher teaching. I will show you another step in this evolution. So before you go away, I will give you a session that will be a fantastic session, that will not be the last session, but the first session of something much higher, much stronger, much more powerful. Are you ready, Stef, for that? And I looked at Frank and I said, oh yes, I'm ready to anything, I swear. It is so good what we do together. I will follow you for any practice, I swear. I found Frank so beautiful, so shining. He brought me something so fantastic that I really wanted to experiment this. Each session with him made my life more open, full of light, full of energy, full of enthusiasm. I felt that no one could stop me. Nothing could stop me. I expressed to the family of Isabel and Isabel herself that I would be leaving and going to live in England. They told me, what do you want to do? You don't even speak English. I said, yes, you're right. It's going to be a problem. And you will never come back. You leave Isabel behind. I say, no. I have a contract. I will be practicing there, but I will come back regularly. Like every 2 or 3 months, I will come and I will spend some time with a complete family. And they said, you mean with Isabel? Yeah, Isabel and the complete family. Sometimes I was a little bit betraying myself, because I was more attracted to the pleasure of the family than the pleasure of the privacy with Isabel. It was not fantastic, far from it. And Isabel accepted the fact that I could enjoy to make her come, but I was never having real sex with her, just to make her happy and to make her come. But she saw that I never tried to do anything to come personally. I wanted to keep my pleasure of the intense chi that was in me, this intense energy that was in me, that was the key of every single success, every single joy, every single deep night. Sometimes in the night I woke up so excited. I couldn't sleep anymore, and I didn't want to masturbate. I just wanted to keep all of this for me as a treasure, a fantastic atomic treasure. So I was going to have a shower, quite cold, to cool down, and then I was drying my body with the towel, rubbing intensely my nipples that I found so exciting to touch. But nevertheless, the cold water was relaxing me, and I could go back to sleep, and I slept so deeply, so well, and I felt so fit in the next morning. Gymnastic was an intense pleasure. People looked at me in the way that I changed so much. In the gymnastic, I developed more muscles. And they were looking at me, always perfectly epilated. I knew that some men looked at me with a certain jealousy, and I looked at them with a certain attraction. I never touched anyone. I never proposed anything. I never talked to anyone. I was not gay. I was in a magical practice of something of a fantastic intensity. I got ready for the administration, for the laws, for everything that I had to organize. I left my club of gymnastics and they were very, very disappointed. I was obliged to leave the club of judo. And I went to the before last session with Frank. That was incredibly intense. My body was so much full of desires, of energy, of power, of presence. My nippons were ready to explode with the chi, with the energy, with the ki, with the prana, but also with a sucking machine. And when Frank was washing me again and again, I forgot totally. I was ready to anything. I felt totally in his power and in his pleasure. And I love so much to wash also with the gloves, sponge gloves, his body, his muscles, and every part of his body. Sometimes when I was washing him, I was approaching his sex, his body, to smell his body, to smell his genital parts. I found that fantastically exciting, with a deep enthusiasm, with a deep desire. But it was not a gay desire. It was an intense, fantastic pleasure, intense, fantastic enthusiasm. You know, like you are 14 years old, 12 years old, and you want to go to the cinema to see the best film ever you wanted to see. And you meet your friends outside because all together, the 5 of us, we are going to see this film, to eat an ice cream, and to discover this cinema where we have never been. We always wanted to go to see this film that was fantastic. This pleasure, this excitement when you meet your friends to do something so cool and so fantastic, where you're ready to run, to jump, you're so happy. Nothing is changing that. You're so strong and happy and immortal, and it's exactly what I had when I was with Frank. Of course it was linked to sexuality, but at the same time it was not sexuality, because I'm not gay. So it was just an intense, fantastic radiation of existence, of something fantastic, marvelous. I had been without coming for maybe a year, and that was a power of existence that was totally fantastic. Totally fantastic. And then, after this fantastic session, Frank told me, Stef, next week, just before your departure, I will teach you the top of this practice, so that this practice is never a limitation or a jail for you, but the discovery of a fantastic evolution of practice, of radiance and success in your life. Are you ready to transcend every limit? Are you ready to discover something that will change everything in your existence? Yes, Frank, I am. I'm ready to anything. My body is so happy with you. I'm ready to anything. I will follow you. Whatever you show me, you ask me to practice. Then Frank said, okay, I will teach you. I will teach you completely how to go so far that it will open new experiences, new doors, new abilities in your existence. Are you ready? And he said yes. And when I wanted, still naked, to tell him goodbye, because I used to change in the changing room a bit further, he approached and he kissed me on my lips, softly. And I had the contact with his lips for the first time, hot lips. And while I was kissing him, he started to catch my nipples and to play with them. And he said, I will show you what you can do even more, even further, even more fantastic. I was about to explode. I didn't know if I could touch Frank. I was paralyzed and so happy and so excited and so troubled. And I found that fantastic. I had decided to go to spend some days in Isabel's family, to love a last time with them before a long time, and I organized everything, bought my ticket and everything, to have the session with Frank, and just after the session, the last session with him, to take directly the train to reach the boat and to move to England in Manchester. Everything was ready, and I was ready for the new adventure with Frank. Before that, a great time of pleasure, 4 days of party, of joking, of enjoying with Isabel's family, with all the family. And after that, I had to leave this place, and I was in front of the school of Frank. I was dreaming and wondering what could happen. I felt my body so intensely powerful and present, so full of energy, so happy. I went to a bar and I had a drink. It was just in front of Frank's school. And I took a drink for maybe 2 hours, dreaming about what could happen, being ready for the thing that would come afterwards. Frank as a last initiation, and Manchester as a new adventure in a new journey, in a new fantastic evolution. After 2 hours, I was ready. I paid, stood up, and walked to the school, ready, so excited, so fresh, so shining, ready for the new adventure.